another edition of the Toker Talk Tuesday podcast. It is Tuesday, and we are fucking token because it is Tuesday, and I have a special guest in here with me today. You guys have not spoken to him yet. Well, y'all don't even speak to me. Y'all guys just sit here and listen. I have a special guest with me here today. He is the founder of La Playa here in Houston, Texas. H-Town Stand Up. I am here with the homeboy Baltazaar.
What up?
Say hello to the people, Baltazaar, all the listeners, all the tokers.
Yo.
So, La Playa, man. It's a dope fucking place. You guys have shows here at least once a week. You guys have open mic nights here. At least. Well, y'all guys have them every Thursday.
Yeah, we have an open mic every Thursday, every single Thursday, no matter what, without fail. Whether it's raining or there's a hurricane, like a few months ago, I think it was Harvey. We still had an open mic. It didn't really matter. And we would record everything.
Did you guys get like wind and stuff in the background?
Oh, you mean the recordings?
Yeah.
Nah, it was all indoor, and though it was raining during that, none of that got picked up. The mics were set pretty.
And people actually showed up. That's fucking crazy.
Yeah, there was like maybe 12 people that showed up, and considering that we were serving as a shelter.
Oh, okay.
There was more people than are usually here consistently. Just hanging out. Running to say get supplies for people or give supplies to people from like to the George R. Brown Convention Center, for example.
Oh, okay.
There was a time when there were some people here that had to run some supplies out there from here, which is like maybe 2 miles or something like that, and the high wind and rain and stuff, and it was really interesting. It was really fun, actually.
That's crazy, man, that you guys were actually open during the hurricane and you guys allowed people to stay here. Like, I'm telling you guys, like, La Playa is a dope place. We're located here off of Alabama Street in mid-Houston, right off of 59. It's really close. It's a nice place. If you guys are ever here in Houston, you guys could come out here and then, just check on Facebook. Just add him on Facebook, like on La Playa in Houston. Just look it up. And they always posting shows on Facebook. I seen that y'all guys are more than welcome to attend. We are, Toker friendly, obviously, because we have a bunch of love here at La Playa.
Yeah, man.
So what was it that, got you interested in making a music venue place like La Playa available for the community?
Music. Being a musician myself, knowing the profound effects music has on me, I thought I would share that as best as I could. It started with just making music on the streets and sharing with people, anybody that would have a listen that way for a good few years, and making it back to Houston, building my way from zero to where I'm at now, and basically taking a not so rundown house from the 30s and turning it into a space that anybody can come and make music, or of course that's evolved into anything considered art that the person would want to consider art. And so there's a lot of philosophers hanging out here, usually, saloning and talking about stuff and challenging each other's views on what art is, but all the basics that most of us would know about, definitely painting, making music, food, and all sorts of other crazy experimental stuff, performance art, people doing the most ridiculous stuff on stage, all kinds of comedy, definitely the poetry scene. There's just a lot. There's so much going on, but it's all welcome as long as there's nobody in danger, nobody's being hurt or anything like that. I mean, if they're doing it to themselves and they're okay with that, that's their business, but besides that, it's a community hub. You know, it's the space that people gave me when I was on the streets, doing my thing and discovering myself, as they say, and um, it's a kind of space that people can come and feel open at, you know, and feel like
Mm.
they can express themselves freely and not have to be concerned with society, or be afraid that, you know, they'll be harshly, or, you know, judged, or anything like that. And yeah, you know, it's just what I felt like the world gave me, when I was, you know, someone in need. So just a way to give back, I suppose.
That's good, man. And have you ever heard of anybody to come out of La Playa to, go on to do crazy like stuff that you hear about everywhere?
Yeah, I mean, they're in Houston for sure, as far as like popularity goes, and probably beyond. But some well-known artists that, from Houston, that have lived here, someone like mm, Noah Daniel is a pretty popular artist, I suppose, as far as
Mm.
music goes. He goes by Noah now, I think is what he goes by. He used to go by Make, and even something else. I'm not exactly sure. Um, let's see, who else has lived here. One of the musicians from the Cam Franklin band,
Oh wow.
Corey Wilson, used to live here. Uh, Frank Dambra. I mean, hundreds, dude. Over 100 artists, well-known, regarded artists here in Houston that I would say
Yeah.
are about that life. You know, have been here, have
Through
lived
here.
here.
That's
You know,
crazy.
have been through here. People that, and that would include, you know, some of the people that didn't even do art necessarily when they got here. They just maybe needed a place to stay or something for a little bit,
Mm.
and were maybe needing to get on their feet. And they used to be, say, a college student, or they used to be some professional of some sort. There's been a variety of the kind of people that come through here, especially the kind of people that are in need usually, um, have come here not making any kind of music or any kind of visual art of any sort. Uh, and by the time they leave here, they're setting up performances, you know, it's at
Mm.
different venues, and or they're contributing their art to, you know, a gallery, or are collaborating with other artists, and are suddenly whatever they were before they came here. By the time they left here, they were identifying as artists, and as philosophers, and as people that want to be a part of the community, that want to be part
Mm.
of the realm of, you know, care and
Oh,
concern and stuff.
yeah.
Yeah.
And you said that you had art like help you in the way. How do you feel like art helps people, like everyone as a whole, like evolve and find their true selves? How do you feel like art can do that?
How do I feel like art can help people?
Help people identify who they are, like
Who they
as you
are.
because you said that people would come here and they
Hmm,
wouldn't even
hmm.
identify as artists. Like,
Just the openness that they, you know, might encounter here, or that enables them to feel that, you know, they can express themselves how they wish, you know, and not
mm,
to be concerned about what is said about that, or how they may be judged as they usually are. You
yeah,
know, people are society. I mean, definitely there's a time and a place. You know, I understand that concept, in terms of expression goes, but I, you know, I found that it's usually been a constricting thing. You know, in terms of just expression, right? Which could mean all sorts of stuff for all sorts of people. That's what I mean. You know, as far as uh, the philosophizing goes.
mm,
Um, Basically, people feel restricted on
yeah,
society, and they come here and they feel liberated. It's just something that I've encountered over and over again from people. You know, I've heard them say that a lot.
Yeah.
I have no idea what's going on through anybody's mind, but I do see that people enjoy this place and they like the openness. They compliment it. The people in the neighborhood say thank you. You know, like keep this going, and so I do. You know, I see it for myself. I believe what others tell me about that, and yeah, I mean this place has also been not that. You know, it's been a place where some people come and they feel liberated suddenly, and they find them that they have an interest in things that I personally just don't agree with. But
Mm.
you know, I don't want to get involved with people's lives so much. You know, there are artists that will stay here and do whatever it is that they're going to do in the privacy of their studio, which I don't have any reason to, be involved with at all. It's none of my business what people do. I forget the name of the artist that said this, but I do agree with it that people have the right to do. Like it's nobody's business what
Yeah.
people do.
Like everybody's
When
free
they're
for themselves.
when people are alone, in the privacy of their home or their space. It really I'm not concerned about. I'm not worried about it. It's none of my business. I don't really care, to be honest. I have my own things to be doing, but here, people have gotten into some pretty crazy stuff. Usually, stupid drugs or like some kind of drama between them and some other artists or whatever happens, next door that I honestly am not am so involved with. I mean, when I am over there, when I am hanging out with everybody, I involve myself as best as I can, and help right where I can. But I don't like to jump in so much anymore. I
Mm.
used to at first because it was new to me to do this sort of thing, but not so much anymore.
Yeah, and now you just kind of learn to back off and let everybody
Yeah,
do what they're gonna do.
there are institutions that can help people with their psychological issues, with their drug problems or whatever it is. Here we're definitely we have a community kitchen. We can
Mm.
help people have food. We have the shelter. People can come if they need to stay somewhere. They have an emergency. They just don't have anywhere else to go. They can come here. But you know, we're not an actual institution of that sort, and so it just isn't very productive. I think in the long run to really take on something like that, without having the acumen or the background, having
Yeah.
studied that sort of thing, or having like the legal wherewithal, because people are unpredictable, man. Like
Yeah, they
and
really are.
and it can be a real pain to have to deal with other people's issues. I think. Um, so yeah, so it's at least some of that, I suppose. I mean, really, the only way to get an idea of any of what I'm talking about for anybody listening is to just come check it out for yourself. I sort of just facilitate it or make sure that there isn't anything harmful or that
Mm.
people aren't you know I mean they can even break stuff. You see what I mean? It's not the easiest thing to talk about because it's pretty difficult to describe. There's so much spontaneity, so much free improvisation that trying to describe it sort of just makes it less of that. Sort of even
Mm.
for me as far as what I think it is. It's like the more that I describe it, it seems like it's less of that. But you know how it is trying to
Yeah.
describe something ambiguous or abstract. That's personal.
Yeah. And how
So
did you go about promoting it? Like whenever you first started off with the open mic night on Thursdays, how did you first go about promoting it?
usual platforms like Facebook, Instagram, but the word of mouth is the best one.
Mm.
That we've used. Just talking about it, people come or hear about it from somebody else because the main thing that we do is record. You can be a musician or anybody that deals with sound and have something you want to get recorded and come here and just get it recorded absolutely free. The only thing would be, since it's a community thing, you'd have to be okay with the recording becoming public domain. And some artists aren't okay with that.
Yeah.
There's a, a capitalist, background usually, like or some legal issue or another. They already have their music signed over or something like that.
Mm.
And so they won't be okay with it being public domain, and so we just we don't record them, or we
Mm.
if we're unaware of that, say, because we record everything. So there's a band booking a show here, they should check out the page before
Mm.
following going through with that, and know that they're going to be recorded, that we record everything and we archive it. And so if they're not cool with that, we need to know that. So after every show, we let them know, of course,
All right.
just to make sure. And yeah, I mean, it's a pretty good idea, I think, for people to be aware, or for people to, like, check out what they're going, like, where they're going to be, what they're going to be doing. And as it turns out, a lot of the people that come through here, they come through here because they heard about this weird, awesome place, and they realize that they are getting recorded. And as far as, like, the people on stage making sound and stuff like that, and it sort of blows their mind a little bit, and we get into the conversation and stuff like that. But what was I going into? But it's since it's free, like, it throws some people off because they think, well, there's this recording of me out there,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to make money for it. I want to sell it, and I, now I can't, or it's gonna be easier for somebody else to take my stuff and steal it. I mean, there's really so many ways so many directions that we can go with that topic. But um, personally, I music is free. You
Yeah.
know, as soon as some kind of money symbol is attached to it, it's not really music anymore. It's not that music is or isn't free. Uh, uh, it's that as soon as you take, which I mean, it's just a recording, right? It's not the
Mm.
actual performance itself, right? Which I would say is probably where the magic is at. Um, it 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 becomes a product or a commodity or something else.
Mm.
It's not really music anymore, personally. And so I don't agree with selling music.
Yeah.
It doesn't. It's not that it doesn't make sense or register or anything. Like, I perfectly understand how capitalism works for
Mm.
myself as well. I'm just, when it comes to music, it's a very personal, spiritual uh, thing. Or uh, part of me, or
Yeah.
it's all the religion I need. Like, there's music, making music. I was out there on the streets preaching the word of music, and it was pretty great. But
Mm.
yeah, so I don't like to sell it. I used to not be okay with bands charging people to come to, but I
Yeah.
mean, like, they need to make money,
Mm.
and we also have bills. So
Yeah.
that's just the way the current system that we're in works. And I might disagree with it in many ways, in terms of how people go about engaging with each other when they have some, which just gets in the way of just being humans, just being people, status.
Mm.
And yeah, that's a whole nother conversation too. There's
Yeah.
so many different ways to go. I mean, it's actually probably the first interview that I've done about this place. So, I'm probably all over the place, but
Nah, man, you're
that's all
good,
right.
man. And people understand that we're high as hell, so they know. I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure they can follow
I
the.
keep forgetting about that. Like, yeah, like, we're all, this whole thing is about, like, getting smoked out and stuff, and just
Yeah, man,
vibing
just
out.
being free, man.
Yeah,
Just talking whatever you want. Like,
yeah.
So you already have the house where you have
Mhm.
two stages out here to perform. You have, the community kitchen, like you said. You have the venue. Though it's basically a venue to where people can come and do their performances here. Do you plan on expanding it at all?
Not really. I mean, um, this place it's not. It's I mean, it's not really something that's expandable. I mean, maybe we could relocate or something at some point, if we
Mm,
need to. If this is something that I even continue with, I mean, I do eventually want to move on from the project and do something else.
yeah,
If this keeps going, then great. If not, that's all right too. You know.
yeah.
Um, I I don't see myself expanding though, and in the way that you might be thinking. Like open up another location somewhere, perhaps have like maybe even some studios in other parts of the country or the world or stuff like that.
Mm,
But I mean, the idea of sharing or the art of sharing is something that I'll have with me anywhere I go, and
yeah.
people can engage with the art of sharing as they wish, wherever they are. Um,
It's because
yeah,
I like what you're doing, so I would like to see something similar to this, like in a bunch of different places, to where they might not have the access to something like this. Like you said,
yeah,
you guys record people for free,
hmm
and I'm pretty sure there's a bunch of artists out there that be like, "Damn man, I wish I could just get what I have written or
hmm
what I made and record it somewhere." And give it out to people. So I like that idea.
I
So that's
gotcha.
why I would be like, I personally like would be intrigued in like seeing something like this expand if you do discontinue like this
hmm
this eventually. I'm not gonna lie, I might steal your idea and do
It's
something
cool,
like it.
man. Well, since you put it that way, the I the idea basically would, in my wildest dreams, would be for it to become the idea of free recording, of anybody being able to
Mm,
document and archive a piece of sound,
yeah,
that they make, that they produce, whether that's a story or a poem or a song, to be able to do that without there being a monetary aspect behind it, on their part.
yeah,
Um, so we could think of it kind of like a library or something, right? Anybody can go in and check out a book, right? So same thing with recording sound. Anybody can go in and like record some sound and do. It's just something that just becomes so commonplace that the idea of music being free or not free, or that whole conversation can
mm.
sort of move on. You know.
And I think overall, like, it would help the art form progress because you got
Mm-hmm.
that many more
Mm-hmm.
different ways of approaching music, as opposed to these are the people who can afford this, so these are mainly the people who, tend to sway what music
Mm-hmm.
is. But whenever
Mm-hmm.
you have more people involved in it, you have all these different ideas that come together that might have not been heard
Totally.
previously.
Yeah.
So that's why I would, like to see something like this expand at least if it's not, this exact thing,
Uh-huh.
some a model like this going
Mm-hmm.
around
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
somewhere else. That's what I would, personally like to see.
Well, dude, like you wouldn't be stealing anything from me.
Mm.
Like I was saying, the art or the idea of sharing, um, would have led you there eventually anyway.
Yeah.
I think, like you just personally, that's what I think about you saying that. But anybody should be able to, you know, consider sharing what they
Yeah.
have to share.
I think I would also want to do something kind of like I want to say the YMCA, but I'm not too sure about the way the YMCA
Sure.
works. Are they like, do they charge or no? Is
Yeah,
it just
I
like
think they
community?
do, and don't. I think they have
Mm.
a charity aspect, uh, like where they give or share things that
Mm.
resources that they're donated, for free. But I do think there is also another aspect of, say, if you want to go to their gym or something like that, I think you do have to pay for some kind of
Oh.
membership or something like that. I
Yeah,
think.
because that's what I wanted to say, but I didn't really know the the ins and outs of YMCA. So, but what I want to do is something similar to what you're doing,
Yeah.
but have like the instruments and stuff like that for the same thing. Like instead of pools or basketball courts, it's like, oh, you
Yeah.
guys can come over here and you could play drums. Y'all can play this keyboard. You could play
Totally.
all this and stuff like that, and have it like a community building to where, like you say, you can record, but you can also have these other places to where you can learn about music, not just,
Yeah. Yeah.
like you could also learn the back ends of music. You could have people teaching you how to, mix and master and stuff like that.
Yeah. So like a musical community center.
Yeah, exactly.
Sounds
Like, because I don't know why we charge to teach people how to make music, like in
Right, yeah.
colleges and stuff like that. Like they come out with the $30-something thousand debt, like in tuition, and they may or may not make it in music. Like music is something that, one, like you said, shouldn't be charged for it. Two, it might not even make you any money. Like, why are you gonna charge to do something that you, one, just do for fun? Two, it's art.
Yeah. I mean, if thinking of ways to take out the monetary aspect or the phenomena of that between people is an interesting thought. um, if we did do away with money, what would we replace it with? And why is money even something that is, you know, in existence? You know,
Honestly, we might not be able to answer that now, but I'm pretty sure that that's where we're heading to. Because it's starting to seem like people are starting to care less and less about money, and people are starting to care more and more about our future. Because what drove us in the past, well, at least in the past century, seemed to be, money, 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 build, 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 innovate, innovate, innovate. And now it's like, hey, all this innovation, building, and money is leaving us fucked.
yeah, yeah,
So the people, I tend to see like the general consensus of people coming to where like, well, fuck the money because we're not gonna have a future in a little bit
Yeah.
because we're selling it to the people that are dying, and they enjoyed their lives, but my life, is in their bank account right now.
yeah, yeah. It's a pretty macabre, pretty like yeah. It's a view that a lot of us do share. We like seeing money as this evil or the thing that kind of gets in between human connectivity. For others, though, they're like, well, shit, I was just born this way. Like I didn't ask for this. What am I supposed to do? Just give it all away? Yeah. Like at least like share.
Yeah.
With others that don't have that
Mhm.
would never even have dreamed of having access to.
Yeah.
Making what we have available for anybody to use and to be a part of, and really coming together,
Yeah.
as people, which will indeed like cause all kinds of situations that we never would have dreamed of or expected or anything like that. So to each, their own, you know, um, share at your own risk or whatever,
Yeah.
but like, be able to and willing to, because we don't need all this shit.
No, we
We
don't.
don't need all this stuff, man. There's not enough of life for us to be able to learn everything and know everyone and go there and so on. It's too much.
Yeah.
We live like we're going to be alive forever, and that's just not the case.
And besides, like anybody who's not a psychopath generally tends to have a good sensation whenever they make other people happy or give somebody else something that they may not have been able to have access to previously.
Totally.
So, like, I don't know. Maybe it's like the way that we have been shaped, to like think, because everybody's like, oh, you have to be successful, but the way that we would equate success is always money. Like, how big is your house? How big is that? Like, that's what means that you're successful, but nobody ever has stopped to think as success as being happy until, fairly recently. And I don't know if that's maybe like something that we've been evolving from, because previously, like, what meant you being alive and happy was you being fed, because
Mm-hmm.
you would have to hunt and shit for your food. And now, the more you eat and the more you consume, it's like, oh, that's what's supposed to make me happy. But now I got more than I can consume and more than I can eat. So now I'm doing all this shit and it's not making me happy anymore, because I got that, and I don't. That's not something I have to worry about.
Mm-hmm.
But now it kind of seems like the way things are going, like, people are worried more about now, like, what makes me happy,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
as opposed to like, how much money can I make?
Yeah, yeah. Things are becoming more abstract and
Mm-hmm.
conceptual, and less materialistic.
Yeah.
And you know, about what you were saying about food and happiness, I think the other one, of course, the probably a very important one is, survival, reproduction,
Mm-hmm.
sex,
Yeah.
like is for a large, probably the majority of people alive, like depending where they're at, especially young teenagers and so on, um, are going to be probably engaged in some kind of something that will eventually lead them to finding a partner or love or whatever it may be. But getting down to the nitty gritty about it, um, you know, making babies,
Mm.
keeping our species alive or whatnot,
Yeah.
and that seems to drive a lot of things, man.
Yeah.
Is
And like, money,
yeah.
money now is a way to secure your, not only you
Hmm.
and your life, but your kids and their lives. Because that's another thing that we would previously be predisposed to do, is take care of our kids even
Hmm.
after we're
Hmm.
gone.
Yeah.
You would teach them how to hunt. You would teach them
Hmm.
where to get water from. It's like, all right.
Right, right. Instead of just paying for
And now
guards
it's,
or something.
instead
Yeah.
of teaching them, this is where the buffalo gathers. Like, all right, well, here's your trust fund.
Yeah. Right. Right.
Learn how to spend this. But now it's like, well, you're giving them all this money, but you're kind of, not teaching them the basics about life, which is, you still need love. You still need to be happy, because you can't really buy it.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, you could buy weed, but that's.
Yeah. And why buy that when you could just go somewhere where you can grow it?
Yeah,
You know,
exactly.
which should be the entire planet, but it's not, because politics and greed and money and
Mm-hmm.
and all of that is so that these motherfuckers could just get laid and continue their legacy or whatever, win some kind of popularity contest that they're not even going to be around for, that doesn't even exist. It's just
Yeah.
in our heads.
Do you think one day we're gonna evolve to where we don't need people like politicians and shit like that?
I think the idea of a democratic society is, it's difficult to for me to not see how one would come about without
Mm-hmm.
there being some kind of break in what we think is reality that is just observable by anyone. I don't know if that makes sense to you, but I just it's hmm,
Yeah.
um
Try to expound, cause.
yeah, yeah. I'm blown, man. Hold up. Um, um,
So you're saying, like, you don't see how people would be able to function without some sort of like order, or like some kind of chain of
yeah, I
command?
mean, I have faith in people. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
of with the camp of people that think that most people are stupid,
Mm-hmm.
or even like to view things like that. People are people, um, and so I have faith that if not what we have now, then something else, that people are going to do their best with it. Like that people, even to right now, this very moment, I believe people are doing their best. That they think. And I'm not to say that there aren't people out there that are intentionally not doing that.
Mm-hmm.
With agency and full awareness that they are doing something that that while to them might be enjoyable, it isn't to anybody else but them. And when they engage in that with anybody else, they 100% of the time encounter, you know, fear or running away or like people are negative, basically negative, responses. And I don't know, man. I don't know what it is about homicidal maniacs
Mm-hmm.
or any of those people. Like what goes on through these people's minds. I think actually it's a lack of something. If I'm not mistaken, there's certain regions of the brain that um, we have to regulate emotions and how
Mm-hmm.
we empathize with others and how we reason and so on. And when we have damage in those areas, we can observe, we can expect certain behaviors from that person. It's not so um, causal and fine lined, where you can actually just quantify a person absolutely based on just some ideas that you have. We can experiment and ask questions and continue and so on, but like a fact is just basically the best that we have right now for something, So applying that to people is complicated, man, and people get hurt and stuff. So it's important to ask questions, you know, constantly, or as much as we can, instead of just make assumptions and just move based on something that we barely understand. Not that we shouldn't. We have to make decisions. We have to move. We have to navigate. There are certain uh, things in life that we find we can't think about it all the time, because if we did, then we wouldn't be doing anything. You
Mm-hmm.
know. Um, so as I was saying, I think people, if we didn't have this society that we're in now, we would have some other. There have been several other,
Mm-hmm.
kinds in culture, human culture, and we've seen what has worked or what hasn't worked according to the people that are in power of who
Yeah.
and what is said about history. You know,
Yeah. Exactly.
yeah,
And even with history, you can't really trust everything that's said because it was only written by the winners.
right.
And the winners are only going to tell their side of the story to make them look good. Be like, oh, no,
Mm-hmm.
we didn't do nothing wrong over here.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we did what we had to do because, that's what was best for us.
Yeah.
And we wrote the history books. But, I don't know, man. I
I think it
think
would be digital.
digital
But yeah, I think instead of
would be like a AI determining our future or
well, I
something.
just like Bitcoin or something. Like I'm just thinking in terms of evolution.
Yeah.
Not that there is such a phenomena that links all the types of currencies and ways that we've engaged with each other into one or anything like that. But I mean, there is a perfectly good reason why we do go about it. Why this is the dominant, current dominant force
Yeah.
of how we engage with each other. Because there are plenty of people out there that are perfectly fine with trading something,
Mm-hmm.
which was around way before
Yeah.
bartering.
Just barter systems.
Yeah,
Do you
but see, like right now, see, notice it, like that's all I'm aware of, or that's all I'm thinking of, because that's what I've been taught.
Uh,
That's what I picked up from other people in
yeah.
society and stuff. But who knows, man?
I think one day there's gonna be like a Edison or something like that of like political systems, and he's gonna come up with this radical idea, and he's gonna be like, "Look, democracy is only okay."
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna be like the candle and the kerosene lamp. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, this lamp works, illuminates, but check this light bulb out.
Mm-hmm.
I think right now we're at the kerosene lamp.
Mm-hmm.
It works, but we're waiting for that light bulb to come out to revolutionize everything. And then after the light bulb comes out, LED's gonna come out of the political systems. I hope that's what comes up, honestly, because the way everything's been going down lately, not just here but all over the world,
Yeah.
seems like people are like saying we're tired of this shit.
Well, let's flip this on its head real quick. Like, what would you say to suddenly being given $2 billion? Like, would you still feel the same? Uh, what would you do with that money? Like, would you give it away?
As far as like, are you talking about the political system, or are you talking
The
about
the money,
the monetary
the
system?
monetary system. Like is something that I think kind of
With
spurred
$2 billion, I would give most of it away. I'm not gonna lie. I would make sure that I'm secure first, like, but not. It's not gonna be something extravagant. It's gonna be enough to where like I got me a house, I got me a property. I could put my vegetables and stuff like that, and whatever I want, my chickens and all that shit. Just that. And then after that, I'm not going to give it all away. I'm going to put it to use to where I know it can support itself. It can be a self-sustaining thing that continues to help people, because I don't want to just give it all away. That's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
I got $2 billion. Well, I could take that $2 billion, give, like 1.98 of it, away. But that's 1.98. Or I can invest those $2 billion and create this infrastructure to where I can create tens of billions of dollars worth of help.
Yeah. But then you would just be part of the system. You'd be contributing to that system.
Yeah.
You'd be.
But I mean, that would already be me getting $2 billion. So now, like, it's like you got all these chess pieces. Now you can play. And you could rearrange the way the game is played, or you can be like, I don't want to play it because I don't want to be a part of that game. Like, I would rather play the game and rearrange the way it's played than to, be like, well, I'm out, because if I say I'm out, then that game's always going to be played the same, and, somebody might not have the skills to be like, or the heart to even want to change it,
Yeah. I think the only way we're going to be able to change it is by not using it anymore. The monetary system, same with the political system. I think somebody has to flip it on its head.
I think we gotta I think we would have to retrain the way we think in order for it. Because I don't think if we got rid of it, everything would be in order. I think it would have to be a slow process to where everybody has to think differently now.
Yeah, like digitizing everything. That, like, I could reasonably sort of see that, happening. It's not
I
so
would
far
say
fetched.
that there's like something to where we have enough technology now in modern day to where we don't need to use like a capitalist system in order for everybody to be sustained at life. Because, like, we got enough. I mean, we could grow plants indoors with just water, the right amount of vitamins and proteins and light. Like, that's hydroponics. Like, weed dealers use that technology without any soil. It's just, water and, vitamins and light. And you could do the same thing with tomatoes. You could do the same thing with watermelons. Like, we have the technology capable to make this crazy amount of food. But the thing is, if everybody has it, then it's not as pretty up here at the top where it's at.
Yeah.
So, I personally feel like we might end up moving to something like that, to where it's not like money driven. Like, everybody, we might have like a community like garden or something, or like everybody has their own self-sustained garden at their house. It's like all you have to do is, I don't know, just not kill nobody and you'll be good.
Yeah. Tell that to the person in this reality, or in that story, that that has a bunch of guns and even whatever kind of like ammunition or whatever, and they just don't want to stop playing the game.
Yeah.
They don't care because they've been winning, quote unquote.
Exactly.
Like, so why should they stop playing the game? Just because everybody else is
I'm
losing.
good at this game,
right? Like, they'll probably get killed or something. I don't know, man. I can't imagine what that's like, because that's just not how things are.
I would say this isn't gonna be anytime soon, though. I want to say that this is gonna happen, but I don't say in like 50 years, 75, maybe like 100, 150. We might end up seeing that type of transition to where it's like, why have we been doing this way for a long time? I think it's going to take a bunch of retraining, a bunch of new education to teach people that this is a better way. Because right now, like you said, these people have been winning, and their kids are going to be winning because they're playing the same game. That thinking has to change before the system can, because people who have that mind state are always going to withstand the power of that system and make sure that it's always there because
Yeah.
they enjoy it.
I mean, ultimately, for say our survival, we're gonna have to probably figure out a way to get off the planet. Uh, so you that so that seems to be the idea
Mm-hmm.
is that eventually we want to be able to move if there's no way for us to prevent an oncoming, you know, I don't know, rock of some sort,
Yeah, like
that's just
asteroid or something.
whatever it may be, or maybe something from the core of the planet begins
Yeah,
to
like
erupt
this
and we just can't.
Yellowstone super
Hmm.
volcano.
Hmm.
Like if that explodes, even here in Texas, we're
Yep.
gone.
Yeah, dude. And so that happening on a global level is something that does tickle our imaginations fancy, and so we're like,
Mm-hmm.
well, shit, we've got all this stuff, we might as well use it and make it something that'll help us get to another planet. But
Yeah, exactly.
things are just so ridiculously perfectly balanced for our kind of life on this planet, though,
Mm-hmm.
that it's nearly impossible with currently where we're at with the technology that we have, with the way we think, our brains, being what drives pretty much everything, and then our adrenal glands,
Mm-hmm.
are the part of us that is still, you know, wanting to hunter and gather and all this other stuff, like is also a force behind that. But I mean, we're doing our best to get off the planet, and finding that is it's not very possible, man. It's a pretty grim story,
Mm-hmm.
if we really think about it. But there's hope. There's no reason to feel doomed, or like there's not any possible way for our species, for humanity to keep going, and thinking of space, inventing spaceships and all that. Like people,
Yeah.
yeah, and even NASA though, like isn't getting funding anymore. Like people are changing their minds about that, but not the people that have all the guns. Those guys are
Yeah.
still like, hey, look, either you get killed or you follow along, or we
Mm-hmm.
put handcuffs on you or something
Yeah.
or whatever it is. And so I think most people, would just align themselves with that and not even think twice about it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I have this theory, and you're a lot more optimistic than me, so
know.
tell me what you think about this theory.
Okay.
I believe, well, I somewhat believe this. All right. Um, what if like humans are like a type of cancer or something like
Mm.
on Earth or something
Uh huh.
like that,
Uh huh. Like
and
yeah. Huh?
Earth is trying to get rid of us, and we're like, no, you know what? We're gonna go to Mars, and it'd be similar to like, oh, you got cancer in your appendix, like, oh, it started transferring to your liver somehow. Like, what do you think
Mm.
that might be like something?
I no, but I think it's an interesting idea though. Like I could definitely work with it. I think that would mean that the planets or anything related to uh, nature that it wasn't produced by a human
Mhm.
uh, is conscious.
Cause I recently found out that what is it, like 9 out of 10 of your cells are like bacteria, and only like one of it
Hmm.
is actually
Hmm.
you. And that bacteria can react differently according to the things that you put in that. But whenever you look inside, like you just see cells and they're just kind of doing their
Yeah,
own thing. They're not
yeah,
really thinking like, oh, I'm part of this body. I gotta
right, right.
do this so and my body could survive. If not, I die. They're kind of like, well,
Hmm.
I'm a bacteria and I'm gonna do whatever it is. Like sometimes I wonder if that's how we are. Like we're just a bacteria and we're like, oh, well, I don't gotta pay attention to the earth because whatever. I
Yeah,
just gotta do what I
we're
do.
just a virus to
Yeah.
the planet or something.
Because
Um,
the way I see it, like whenever you like really look down to it, like I said with the bacteria and stuff, like what if we're like on an organ that we don't realize is like an organ to something that's bigger that we're a part of, and we're just kind of fucking up, Earth, and it's like, the universe's appendix.
well, I mean, we might not like cancer, whatever type we
But
might
it's a
have.
life form.
But yeah, I mean, it totally is a life form, right? But it isn't something that we can actually give a value judgment to. It's just another life force that we don't agree with because we get killed by it.
Exactly. Like it's like that's what I'm saying. Like it's a life form, and it's not worrying about if my body dies, well then I'm gone too. It's like, well,
it's
I
not
gotta,
personal,
like I gotta do what I gotta do to survive. I gotta make sure my little cancer kids are
That's
thriving.
totally what the capitalists, the super rich, would say to some of us poor folk. It's like, don't take it personal.
Yeah, like I'm not trying to ruin the nation, but I just gotta make sure my kids have a trust fund. So what that the oil spilled.
Yeah.
But
it won't be until people don't give a shit anymore, because they've been pushed so far, or are just starving. Enough people in that position, for there actually be, say, someone like Bill Gates suddenly thrust into a field of other humans in dirt and dirty and because everything got blown up and we don't have any of that shit anymore. So now we sort of have to start over again and deal with the fact that we might be in this position because we know some things, or we're educated, or have a tenacity to learn, and others didn't, or whatever reasoning we can come up with for being in a position that we're in, especially someone like Bill Gates. By now we should be familiar with the story, right? He started in some garage, messing with computers, and basically, became rich and famous for his invention and stuff like that. For someone like that who probably has, lots of security and a very nice home, probably several homes and stuff like that, and that probably doesn't hang out with quote unquote dirty people. Not that he doesn't, or wouldn't. This is just hypothetical Bill Gates, not actual Bill Gates. And it would take an apocalypse or something, for that many of us would survive, but that was big enough to, make us just not care about something so stupid as a piece of paper, and be able to see that the person bleeding on the ground is more important, and I should probably help him instead of try to pick up this wad of cash or whatever on the floor next to him, which is kind of what is happening in a lot of ways, with a lot of the money and how the CEO doesn't have to see that dude at the very bottom of that chain, but who is probably bleeding, in some way or another, so to speak, and is instead just going for that wad of cash,
Well, what I've been seeing, like on the news, like all over the world, there's been a bunch of riots and a bunch of protests, for governments that allow those systems to take place, is basically allowing the capitalist corporations to, fuck over the little guy because they keep, paying these people. So what I've been seeing lately, and like you could even see it here in the United States, like all the recent protests and walkouts and stuff like that, is like people are tired of the systems that are in place.
Yeah.
Like even over there in I forgot where it was, somewhere in Europe. I want to say like England or France or some shit like that. There's recently protests, stuff like that, for the same thing. What people call income inequality, but I think that's just a start. I think, this is where it's going to start, and eventually it might lead to no more money. because people can't be trusted with
right.
something
So
like that.
that's what I mean. So like, what's gonna replace it though? Like, or how do we observe? How do we imagine? What can we imagine? How does that look?
I think
Um,
Elon Musk has the answer.
Elon Musk. Okay, well,
He's out there sending
talk to that
convertibles
guy.
into space.
Oh, that dude. Oh
Yeah.
man, that's you see what I mean? That's
Yeah,
that's
like
great.
he's
Sending convertibles into space.
yeah. But thing is, he did that for publicity. I'm not gonna lie, Elon Musk, he's a really good person. Like he went out there and he built like a power station in one of these like countries or like islands or something like that, and gave is like now they got infinite free power out there to like 100,000 homes or something like that, just because he did the solar thing and
Yeah.
he has like this battery storage place. Like that guy is fucking a genius, and he's
But
got
what
a
if
good
that
heart.
battery power storage place was just somebody just flipped the off switch on that? Then what?
That I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure he has like backups and stuff like that. Because that guy's really smart. Like he doesn't just because even though like they have this new thing, Tesla, they have this battery. This called a power wall,
Yeah.
and that it has I think enough power to power like a average home, like refrigerator, AC, and all that stuff. Like the average home for about 3 days without any sunlight.
Mm. Wow.
But it's powered by solar energy, so it will constantly be getting re-energized. But if somehow like miraculously 3 days you go without sunlight, it'll have enough power to power your home.
Yeah.
So they have like backup storage and stuff like that. Like I'm pretty sure they're a lot smarter than I am, and they've thought of situations like that too. Like, oh, what if
Yeah.
power cuts off or something?
Yeah.
They have like backup systems.
Um,
But
and and then things just eventually don't work anymore.
yeah,
And then what? Like let's say one of these batteries just develops a leak somewhere or another because of some erosion or whatever, and or blows up or something,
that too.
or just like gets poked the wrong way by something happening or whatever. Like
Yeah.
how do we deal with that? We'd have to think of all of those
Hmm.
variables, and I think it sort of makes you think of the how temporary we are alive and how little we think of that. Like
Yeah.
if we were more aligned, or if our understanding was more aligned with reality, with the reality of our existence, how long we live or tend to live, or have
Mm.
a good understanding of that, we would probably not go about inventing things or coming up with things that are going to be around for millennia, because we're not going to be alive for that long. So
Yeah.
there's no point in getting stuck on something that is going to outlive us anyway.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah,
You don't think that's kind of like part of life though is passing information? Because that's kind of what I feel like it would be. Is like basically everything we do is information that's passed down.
hmm
Genes, it's
hmm
information that
well,
was
that's a good
passed
point.
down. Like the way your kids survive is information that you get passed down. Like to me, that's what I feel like. All the purpose of life is to the transfer of information.
hmm
And are you familiar with the original Nikola Tesla?
Yeah.
He had a theory that he said that he proved and that it was an actual functioning theory that it was called the Tesla Tower or something like that, to where it radiated like electricity wirelessly,
hmm
to where you like if you had a receiver that you could power your TV without any cords or something like that, which is it's basically like Wi-Fi energy. I've actually talked about it a lot on this podcast, but I think it's really dope because he had a theory that using the natural electromagnetic force around the Earth, if you place these Tesla towers strategically around it, that it could just use the natural electromagnetic field and create energy that way and power those towers that would then power everything else. So it'd be free energy, just on the natural occurring magnetic field that the Earth already has. So you wouldn't even have to worry about sunlight or this wind stuff and stuff like that.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
And the reason they actually got defunded was because he had told his investor, which was one of the J.P. Morgan Chase people, he had told him that it was a radio tower and that he was going to be able to send signals, but somebody in Europe had already beat him to it, and they sent a signal across like the Atlantic or something like that. Mm-hmm. So it got defunded, and then he told him the actual purpose, and then it definitely got defunded. He's like, oh, it's not just a radio tower, it also gives free energy. And they've actually replicated these towers, and they get like little fluorescent light bulbs, and they put them near it, and they light up.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's very interesting. I think, that's pretty awesome. So it makes you think, like, if we do invent something, and instead of just making it long lasting, making it something that is for the most part going to last forever. But then it gets complicated again. It's just like it's all temporary. Yeah. Even this very planet, the light itself, like it is going through a process of entropy. That is not stoppable, and so. I mean, not to say there's no point in inventing stuff and enjoying life and all that other stuff, but getting stuck on it, whatever it is pointless.
I just think that something like that would be able to free us up as a people more easy. Like we don't have to worry about like there isn't an oil crisis anymore. There isn't thermonuclear explosions over here because we need energy. Like now we got this free energy coming out of our atmosphere. Now we have time to think of, all right, well, what if Yellowstone does blow up? What if asteroid comes? How can we solve that now that we don't have to worry about where is our dirt juice gonna come that powers my TV?
Dirt juice, man. That could be a drink.
Right. It's called mud.
Yep.
But yeah, man, I don't know, man. I think that'd be pretty cool. Damn, we've already gone an hour and 2 minutes, bro. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna actually wrap this up for your sake, bro, because I know you got shit to do. So I want to thank you for joining me on the Toker Talk Tuesday podcast.
For sure.
Maybe one day we could have you back again and we could expound a little bit more.
Absolutely, man. I'd be down. I'll have some buds next time for the show.
Hell yeah, and thank you guys for tuning in and listening to us get high and talk, and we will see you guys next week.